Hello and welcome to the studio. And I want to just talk for a brief moment. I want to ask you, we're going to have about 6 sessions together talking about this, and I want to ask you what makes you happy. As in, when you're laying there in bed the night before, are you excited? What would make you totally excited and unable to fall asleep? What would that be? Would it be hunting or surfing or hiking? Would it be going to Disneyland? Do you like going there? Or would it be spending time with friends? What would tickle your fancy so much that you would not be able to sleep the night before? What would get you out of bed before the sun comes up? What makes you happy? See, I think sitting in this studio is a really big thing for me because we built it about 7-8 years ago, and we built it with the premise that I was going to use it to write. But when people heard that we were building a studio, they thought, oh, what do you do in your studio? Write? That's it? Yeah, I write. I want to write. We also built it to house the antiques that are in the background, mainly because they were being rained on and in our shop. But what makes you happy? That recently when I came down here, because I actually have not spent any time down here in the last 7 years. I sheetrocked the inside of it. I painted it up. Yes, I did. And I moved all the furniture in, and I closed the doors, and it just filled up. It filled up with things that other people thought I needed to do to make me happy in a space called the studio. But it wasn't the stuff I wanted to do. And recently coming down here became just too much of sadness because it wasn't being used for what I wanted it to be used for. In fact, it was quite sad to come down here. So, thus, I closed and locked the doors, and I did not come down here. And recently when I came in here last week, I walked down, I opened up the door, and I had to get something for somebody. It's pretty much the catch-all storage area. Most of you have them in your home. I hated them in my home. I was always a very organized person, but for some reason, when we moved and we downsized again, all of a sudden my world is no longer organized and happy. It's now becoming very chaotic, and I'm having to house all this stuff. My problem was I didn't know how to say no. I wanted to please everybody. I wanted to make everyone happy. And thus I was putting my happiness aside for theirs. Now, I'm not saying that their happiness isn't important. I'm just saying that my happiness, the passion that is inside of me, is uniquely given to me by God. God created me. He created all of us to be vastly different, to have different likes and different passions. And if we don't stop and think about what our passion is, what that thing that drives us to get out of bed with such a spring that they call us Tigger in the morning, if we don't have that or we don't know what that is, why bother? We need to bother. Because finding our passion, finding what we're good with, what we were made to do in this world brings us not only closer to God, but brings us more dependent upon Him because He gave us something. He called us into this world to do something that only we can do for Him. And if we're not reaching out and figuring out what our passion, what that special gift is that He's given us, how do we touch the people He wants us to touch? So that's what I'd been working on. I came down here and I looked around, and I was actually very distraught with myself that I allowed all of this to happen. I allowed my happiness, my joy, what brings me total joy, the words on the page. I pushed all of that aside so that I could go out and bring other people's happiness in. Because it brought them happiness, it should bring me happiness or joy. I liked knitting. I really did. I liked knitting when I had nothing else to do and I was chained to a desk. I answered 911 for a decade. And when you do that, you're literally chained to a desk with a headset. And during the down times, I picked up needles and yarn and knitted. I knit all kinds of things, mostly socks. They were easy. And it was enjoyable, but it wasn't my passion. While I was answering the 911, I still had the yearning to sit and write. I would jot notes of the things I wanted to write, and I would keep on moving and answering the phones. But my question that kept lingering in my brain is, why would God give me the passion and desire to write and not give me the opportunity to actually do it? That just seemed like torturous to me. Until one day, sitting in the studio, I turned around and realized I had filled every spare moment that He had given me to write with other things. Now, in the next video, we're going to talk about how you can discover, and I'm going to walk you through it, what I did to figure out what actually brought me happiness. And we'll go through the original cleaning out, because for right now, I stood in the studio and all I did was twirl around. I would pick up a box and I would say, oh, this is pretty yarn. I might knit with this someday. Or, oh, this is really good fiber. I could use this someday. Or, oh, look at this little trinket. It's very pretty. And so had given it to me. And oh, I just cherished that friendship and I need to put it on the shelf here. And pretty soon, my shelves were full. My time was spent maintaining everything. And my joy was depleting. So what is your passion? What is it that you really feel God made you to do? God created you and put us all on this earth to do something totally, vastly different. Somebody might like to garden. Somebody might like to bake. Somebody might like to sit at the counter and watch the baker. I think that is the most enjoyable thing for me, is sitting and watching somebody create beauty out of flour, milk, and eggs. It's a gift, and it needs to be cherished and treasured, because not everybody knows how to do that. So we're going to talk about how to find it in the next video. Until then, bless you all, and we'll see you in a bit.